Hi, it's me, Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut. Welcome to my coverage of SpaceX's launch of the SES-12 satellite for the company SES. This is taking off here in about 30 minutes from Slick 40, which is Space Launch Complex 40 at Cape Canaveral Air Force Station in Florida. So this is a pretty standard mission these days, guys. SES, it's one of SpaceX's biggest customers, and this is going out to geostationary transfer orbit like all the all the other SES satellites. But this one's a little different. It's the heaviest payload Falcon 9 has ever launched ever at 5,384 kilograms. That's pretty heavy. So this will be entirely expended. There will be no attempt to recover this booster, and this is also a Block 4 first stage booster. It's reflown. It was previously flown last September, so September 2017, for the OTV-5 mission, which is that X-37B space plane for the Air Force. That's really cool. That was last September. It's been, refurbished and done all the stuff that it does to refly again, and it's now getting ready to refly today. So yay! Again, if you don't know what the blocks mean, Block 4, Block 5, all this stuff, I have a video all about that. Make sure and check that out. If I remember, I'll try to put like an annotation card in later. But yeah, that will tell you kind of why they even expend all Block 4 boosters now. They're basically trying to get rid of them and get rid of their inventory. But yeah, other than that, everything else about this looks like it's on time and we're good to go. Yeah, so, and one more thing, this actually has a Block 5 upper stage, which is interesting. So it looks like SpaceX is kind of going all hands on deck, committing to only manufacturing Block 5 hardware at this point. And we'll briefly talk about, why they're launching a Block 4 booster and why it's not being recovered. At this point, Block 4, remember, is SpaceX learning everything pre-Block 5, with SpaceX learning how to land and recover a booster. And their Block 5 booster, which they just launched last month, I guess technically last month. Their Block 5 booster is basically applying all those lessons they learned from the previous rockets. So this is their 56th launch of the Falcon 9, I want to say. And the other Block 5 launch, it was them learning all the lessons from those and the 25 previous landings. And now they've developed and are working on continuing to develop, we're finding out, how to rapidly reuse their boosters. So instead of a booster sitting around for months and getting refurbished with potentially hundreds or thousands of hours of labor to refurbish and replace parts that are, used up, now they're looking at, this Block 5 stuff is massively exciting, and it's a really big leap forward for SpaceX. And I can't wait to see more. There's going to be a lot more Block 5. I should have done the numbers beforehand, but I believe there's only going to be maybe 2 more Block 4 flights ever. After that, they're going to be all out, and we will only be seeing Block 5 from now on, so it's going to become completely the new normal, and I can't wait until we see them fly over and over again. So yeah, I'm really excited. This launch is pretty normal, pretty routine, but the Block 5 stuff is really coming around the corner. There's a lot of fun stuff this year. So hi, everybody. A quick reminder for all of you who are asking, when are you going live? When are you going live? I go live at T-minus 30 minutes, period. So I'll be watching their live streams and their information. So I follow them on Twitter. I follow SpaceX on Twitter. I also have the SpaceX Now app on my phone, and that will actually alert me of any changes and tell me upcoming launches, all that stuff. That's how I know when I need to turn on the live stream button. So that's how you'll know when I'm going to turn on the live stream button. Just assume I'm going to go live at T-minus 30 minutes. So now you have that information. So anytime you're looking at why isn't he live or anything, probably means they push back a little bit. And also Reddit, reddit.com/r/SpaceX is still a phenomenal reference if you are trying to stay on top of the actual countdown net. I would have that open in a window and just kind of stay tuned there as well. So, so also SA Strix S first live launch. Let's go. Well, thank you for joining, and hello, thank you so much for your generous tip. That means a lot. And also, hey, how's it going, Jin Chan's Odd Jobs? Long time no see. And Thunder Runner, hi, I do remember you, and welcome back. So let me know what questions you guys have. It seems to be there are people disagreeing about the weight of the payload. You're right. Intelsat was 6,500 kilograms, which is almost 1,000 kilograms more. I did pull the heaviest. Maybe it's the heaviest SES satellite. I did see that directly quoted in the Reddit subreddit thing. So I may have just had a misquote there. So I apologize about that. You're right. I'm pretty sure 6,500 is the maximum payload mass that the Falcon 9 has ever launched. So yeah, thanks to the Discord channel for for catching me on that too. Where would I be without you guys? And also I should mention real quick, I have a few funny things to tell you guys. There's been some fun things to be had lately. First off, my Discord channel, we do have an exclusive Discord channel to Patreon supporters. So if you want to help support what I do, which isn't necessarily always this, lots of times it's scripting and researching kind of the more in-depth videos, you can head on over to patreon.com/everydayastronaut where you can join our exclusive Discord channel and our exclusive subreddit. And I love my Discord channel. They keep me sane, and they get to see they see the videos as I edit them, basically. I will update them. They probably see the videos 3 or 4 times before they actually go live. The scripted videos, that is, not obviously this. They don't get to go forward in time 4 times. There would be a lot of time issues if we did that with time continuum problems, so I'm probably not recommending that. But yeah, I always really owe a big thank you to my Patreon supporters. Next up, another moment of business that we need to talk about. Oh, heaviest to GTO? No, Intelsat was to GTO. Parhouse. I believe the Intelsat 35E was, yeah. It's the heaviest to GTO. Really? Is Intelsat 35E not GTO? Someone find out. I can't wait to hear from you guys. This is what I love about live streams, is that I can find out information from you and from... we can all learn together. I think if someone said, Tim, I take your word as gospel, naughty. I appreciate that sentiment, but I'm learning too. I'll gladly admit when I'm wrong. That's, I think, what any fair journalist or anyone should be doing, is let you know if they don't know for sure. So, yeah, Intelsat was GTO. Yeah, what are you guys talking about? So still not the heaviest GTO. Yeah, so... boom. This is not the last Block 4. I believe there'll be 1, maybe 2 more Block 4s. I would, again, love if you guys could help me figure that one out. Oh, it looks like we had a slip in the clock. Did it move a little bit? 21? No, it didn't. I'm just getting excited. Okay, so now I can tell you guys, yes, SpaceX is doing a stream. Of course, they do their streams. What we do here on my show is I pull up their thing and I'll ask and answer questions specifically as they're happening. That's what we're here for. So I will be live streaming It's Business Time, which I cannot wait for. And for those of you that don't know, that's Rocket Lab with their awesome Electron rocket. They're coming up soon. I don't remember when it is. Is it? We actually, Mini Stoge, or Lisa Stojanovsky in our Discord channel will probably be able to tell us the date right off the bat. She works for Rocket Lab. I can't wait. That rocket is so cool. I have a video all about it. If you haven't watched that video, I'll help you get excited, because in my opinion, it is extremely, extremely exciting. So June 23rd through July 4th is their launch window for It's Business Time. I can't wait. Good luck, Rocket Lab. We're all literally right here waiting for you guys. So, through July 7th. Okay, so hopefully very soon. I can't wait. I'm going to be gone for like half of that, though. So please, Lisa, can you... maybe schedule it while I'm home so I can do a live stream. Thanks. So, also, asterisk SS. Do we know when the next Falcon Heavy launches? It's kind of got one of those soft dates. I wouldn't plan on it being anytime too soon, mostly because, remember, the next Falcon Heavy will be based on Block 5 architecture. And hello, the SpaceX live stream is up. More cameras available? Hold on. Did they just go multicam on us? I've never seen that pop up. View 1 of 2. Cameras? I don't even know what that is. That's I'm going to just play with that for the rest of the... This is going to be the worst live stream you've ever watched of mine, because I'm just going to be sitting there switching cameras nonstop. I'm going to be the own producer of my show, and this is going to be terrible. Oh, the more cameras is the technical webcast. Well, I'm actually, I did not realize that, Lisa. Thank you. I never noticed that. Hey, guys, some things surprised me, too. So I'm honestly pretty excited to listen in because I feel like there's always little nuggets that they hide in their webcast. So I do like to listen in. So remember, when they talk, I don't talk. I'll be listening. I want to learn along with you guys. And then if there's something we have more questions about, I'll help try to dissect and digest that as well. So yeah, what else was I going to say? Go back. It is the main C crap. There we go. Add another scene and put camera 2 on it. That would be, I don't know if I can do, I can't do that on my end. I don't have that cool of fancy schnazzy stuff. Why are they doing this so late? So rockets have to base off when they launch based on where they're going. So this, in order to get to the proper inclination and the proper, in order to also have it so the solar panels deploy and they're already in space and all this stuff, it matters where the Earth is in rotation. Although this is going to a fixed point in the sky, I still have a hard time figuring out exactly why that is. But I think it has something to do actually still with lining up with the inclination change for the geostationary transfer orbits. But really, just picture it matters only where the orbital alignments of things, of where it's going. So it doesn't matter if it's light or dark or what time. Time is irrelevant to the destination. So yeah. So I will tell you guys another fun story. So I'm currently working on, we never quite finished the Falcon Heavy launch because I got really excited. I'm sorry about that. SES-12. So the next Falcon Heavy will be based on the Block 5, which is this, the one where it's got the black interstage, the black raceway, the black landing legs. The next Falcon Heavy will be that version. It'll be Block 5 architecture. I'm sure they're going to want to launch several Block 5s before they actually commit to building a Falcon Heavy based on Block 5. I think. I don't know for sure, but I'd be very curious if they actually do launch another Block 5, another Falcon Heavy this year, unfortunately. If it does, it'll be, I think, very late in the year, like late November, December, but we'll see. So yeah, let's see. I was going to tell you guys a few other things. Oh yeah. So, I'm just finishing up a video that I'm going to be posting tomorrow, and it is, I think, unintentionally the best video I've ever done. Here's why. Well, I don't want to ruin everything, but let's just say that I may or may not have, flown out to California, rented a Tesla, done a whole video about Starman's Tesla in space and how it survives space, lost one of the 3 memory cards, and then reshot a bunch of it using a Hyundai Elantra. That may or may not be the case. I don't know. Maybe you'll have to find out and see tomorrow. We'll see. Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. I honestly think it's like, it actually is factually dense. There's a ton of good info, but there's also a lot of good graphic overlays and a lot of fun to be had. So please check it out tomorrow. It's hilarious and it's great. So with, let's see. Oh, hi, Excalibur Starship Builders. Good evening from one of the youngest members of the Young Astronauts Club in Phila. Awesome. Back in 1986. Well, that's awesome. Thanks for joining and thanks for saying hi and welcome. I hope you're having a fantastic time. And Preston T. Crow, thanks for always doing your great research all the time. I'm a longtime Patreon. Love your stuff. What are my thoughts on Orbital ATK Omega? Thank you, Preston, and thank you for your Patreon support. Honestly, that means an insanely so much to me, honestly. I say that. I hope I said that enough. I hope you guys know how genuinely serious I am about that. So thank you. Preston, let me answer that real quick. I think the Orbital ATK Omega is amazingly backwards from the Antares. So those of you that don't know what the Antares launch vehicle that Orbital ATK has is basically the RD-180 engine. Actually, I believe now did they switch to an RD-188? I don't remember. I believe they switched it, but it's basically the same engine that's on an Atlas V for the first stage, and then it's 2 solid rocket boosters to put that thing into orbit. Don't forget, Orbital ATK is like really well known for their solid rocket boosters, like the ones on the space shuttle. And their next rocket, the Omega, is basically the exact opposite. It's it's oddly almost so. If you took the bottom half of their Antares and the top half of the Omega, you'd basically have an Atlas V, in my opinion. And what they're doing for the Omega is basically the first stage is going to be like a 4-segment booster, I believe, version of like the solid rocket booster from a space shuttle, essentially. Second stage is another solid rocket booster, and the upper stage is an RL-10 liquid engine. So again, it's very similar in that sense to to an Atlas V. It's backwards from their Antares. I'm excited about it. We'll have to see if it's inexpensive. I think Orbital ATK is pulling some interesting things out of their sleeves that will make them very relevant in the next 10, 20 years. Just wait and see. I don't know enough about it yet to really talk very candidly about it, but I'm still really excited. I think the Omega will be cool. Solid rocket boosters, although they're kind of, in some ways, really dumb, they're still super cool because they're just super powerful, super loud. And also, Heike Keikonen, thank you so much for your tip. You just joined. What's today's mission? Today's mission is an SES satellite for the company SES. This is SES-12, and the live stream is up. We'll hear from SpaceX too, and if I don't answer it, I'll get back. But also, thank you guys for your tips. I'll try to get back to these. Remember, I do want to listen in on this stuff, so if I haven't answered your thing, I will. How do you get in the Discord? It'll be patreon.com/everydayastronaut. Sign in there. It'll automatically send you a login thing for Discord and automatically add you to the Discord membership. So, yeah. And thank you, Blair and Saystrix and Osley. Thank you. And Chris Harris. Oh, awesome.
Monday, June 4th at 12:32 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, or 4:15 Coordinated Universal Time, and you are looking at a live view of a flight-proven Falcon 9 rocket on the SpaceX launch pad as it awaits its second launch since landing back in September of 2017. Welcome to today's webcast of the SpaceX SES-12 mission from Space Launch Complex 40 at Cape Canaveral Air Force Station in Florida. My name is Brian, and I'm on the software team here at SpaceX. And the first stage of the Falcon 9 that you see on the pad on the right of your screen previously launched the U.S. Air Force's X-37B, which was an orbital test vehicle that flew from the neighboring Launch Complex 39A at NASA's Kennedy Space Center in Florida. Now, the previous flight of this Falcon 9's first stage successfully landed at SpaceX's Landing Zone 1 at Cape Canaveral. Now today, that same booster will help deliver the SES-12 satellite to a geostationary transfer orbit, which you'll hear us call GTO throughout the webcast.
Oh, I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. That was really bad. All right. I think I heard actual crickets.
Now, today's launch will be our 5th for SES.
This is so
the first was SES-8 back in December of 2013, and the most recent was SES-11 in October of 2017. And of course, the SES-10 mission in March of last year marked a historic milestone on SpaceX's road to reusability when it became the world's first reflight of an orbital-class rocket. Now, today, we will not be making a recovery attempt of the first stage, so we will conclude coverage of the first stage's journey at stage separation.
I love that you hear actual crickets. That's how, like, ordinary and mundane.
The Falcon 9 on your screen rolled out of the hangar and was raised to vertical on the launch pad early this morning East Coast time. You can see the two-stage Falcon 9 vehicle standing over 200 feet tall on the launch pad, which is about the length of the entire wingspan of an Airbus 380 airplane. Now, the first stage is easy to spot as it has that re-entry soot from the previous launch that you can see at the bottom. The first stage provides the initial force to get out of the majority of the Earth's atmosphere, but unlike our newer Block 5 boosters, this first stage is not planned for additional flights, so SpaceX will not recover it today. However, for this mission, we are flying a Block 5 second stage, and we will of course be following the second stage as it takes the satellite from the edge of space and accelerate to its final orbit. On top, in that 17-foot diameter payload fairing in the center of your screen, is the SES-12 satellite. And the structure behind the rocket to the left is the tip of the transporter erector, or the strong back as we like to call it. Now, this large mechanism transports and supports the vehicle, as it rolls out to the pad and goes from its horizontal integration position to its vertical flight configuration that you see on screen.
I love that they just let it stay dirty, personally. The crickets, that's killing me. I didn't realize, I've never heard that before in a launch. That's so funny. Also, thank you, Mary Smith. Thank you. I'm glad you like my videos. And
during pre-launch status updates, we like to check on 4 primary items, and those are the vehicle, the payload, the range, and the weather. Now, regarding the vehicle, propellant loading began for fuel and oxidizer at about T-minus 72 minutes. And an initial go, no-go poll was held at around the same time. The first propellant, which is the rocket-grade kerosene fuel, is mostly loaded onto both stages by this point and is currently being topped off. And then the second propellant, the liquid oxygen, is only partially loaded and is currently in a planned pause while we actually load the pressurant, the helium, to its final flight mass. Once we confirm that we have sufficient helium on board, we will resume the liquid oxygen loading to its final values. So regarding the payload, SES-12 is healthy within those fairings. At this moment, they're performing final flight checks before liftoff, and those are going smoothly. Regarding the range, they are ready to support as always. They usually clear the area around the launch pad, including the airspace and even the surrounding coast. And the fourth item, weather, it was a bit dismal earlier today, but nothing threatening the launch. So with all 4 stations indicating go, let's take a closer look at today's payload.
By the way, real quick, I've seen a lot of people asking where this is. Florida. This is at Space Launch Complex 40 in Cape Canaveral.
Asia Pacific and the Middle East are 2 of the world's fastest growing regions, where economies are growing exponentially and everyone is driving to elevate their quality of life. People want it all, whether it's seeking immersive video viewing experiences or enjoying top internet speeds at home and abroad. They want reliable mobile coverage as they travel outside of the main cities into the rural areas and to have online information on demand. SES-12 will enrich lives and transform businesses across Asia Pacific and the Middle East. After all, premium connectivity is at the heart of a premium experience everywhere. With SES-12's state-of-the-art wide and high throughput spot beams, you can accelerate digital transformation and extend your vision across these regions.
SES-12 is a really exciting spacecraft. It's a very large and very capable spacecraft. The satellite will be located at 95 degrees east, and it will be serving markets which range right the way from the Middle East, right the way through to Southeast Asia and Indonesia. SES-12 will be co-located with SES-8 to reach around about 18 million homes in Southeast Asia. The HTS payload is going to offer full connectivity for the various different airlines and vessels which are traveling along one of the region's busiest traffic areas. It's going to be used by our fixed data customers, which will connect various different offices located all over the underserved areas, and also will be able to offer e-government services for the entire region.
SES-12, elevating experiences today.
At this point, first stage and second stage are almost fully loaded with collectively around 1 million pounds of propellant. We will continue topping off that propellant until about T-minus 2 minutes. You can see on your screen what appears to be that white smoke coming off of the vehicle periodically. That is actually liquid oxygen, which is boiling off as it comes into contact with the ambient Florida temperature around it. This is totally normal, and it's the reason why we continue to top off the vehicle with liquid oxygen until just a couple minutes prior to liftoff. Now, the big milestone coming up is the engine chill at T-minus 7 minutes. That actually just happened 2 minutes ago, and again, that's to make sure that the engines are cold enough such that when really cold liquid flows into them, they don't experience much thermal shock. Now, coming up soon, the strongback will prime itself with a very small retraction. That happens a few minutes before T-minus 0, and then remember it will recline fully right at liftoff. Now at T-minus 60 seconds, in about 3.5 minutes, the Falcon 9 flight computer takes over the entire countdown. You'll hear that on the nets as Falcon 9 is in startup, and that means that the onboard software, instead of the humans, is in full control of the vehicle. So to recap, the vehicle is green, the payload looks good, the range is supporting, and the weather is ready. So with that said, let's listen into the final minutes of Terminal Countdown.
All right, so I've heard a couple good questions. First off, they don't have a recovery boat on the east, well, at least a catching boat on the east coast. So any of the east coast launches, so if it's from Slick 40, which is Cape Canaveral, or sorry, oh my god, I'm blanking, from Cape Canaveral Air Force Station. Wow, it's been a long day, sorry. Or from from Launch Complex 39A at Kennedy Space Center. They're only like 3 miles apart. Or sorry, 5 kilometers apart. So if it launches from either of those launch sites, they do not attempt to catch the fairing at this point. And I don't know if they're still actually tweaking the fairing recovery even and trying to, glide and land and steer the fairings. Or if they're only doing, I have a theory that they're only doing that on the West Coast, period, because I think it takes a decent amount of time for them to really kind of tweak software and hardware and make big enough changes. But they don't want to keep just wasting recovery hardware in those fairings until they think they really have a good solution. And the West Coast launches are every, 2 months or so that's about the right amount of time to iterate a change and then attempt to catch it. And so those are only the West Coast launches out of Vandenberg Air Force Base and Space Launch Complex 4E. So, anything out of Florida, currently we are not seeing them attempt to catch, but we have seen them kind of play around with fairings on the East Coast. So what you're hearing, by the way, in Discord, they're talking about that's venting. So as the tanks get up to full pressure, you see them venting out the oxygen, and once oxygen's pumped in there, it's liquid oxygen. Liquid oxygen's really, 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 really cold. In order to make the gas of oxygen into a liquid, you have to make it really cold. And then when it actually warms back up, because it's in Florida, or even if it wasn't in Florida, even if it's like in Antarctica, it actually expand back out into a gas, and it'd be 1,000 times larger. It expands. And so in order to not prevent that from rupturing the tank, they vent it back out. It's still really cold and comes into contact with water vapor, and that's that kind of smoke you see pouring off the rocket. Totally normal. It just is kind of it breathing. It's like
Stage
it's alive,
G locks closed out.
which I just think is super cool. So no fairing catching today, but they have a fairing recovery ship of Go
Falcon 9's on
Pursuit,
internal
but
power.
it's not necessarily, it doesn't have a catching net on it. So I think they are still maybe scooping up fairings potentially. So we'll see. And Jim Miller, are they planning a high-speed water landing test? I don't think so at all. It doesn't even have grid fins. So they were doing some that had grid fins and no landing legs.
Just goes out, China.
Or other hardware. They would test really, really aggressive landing profiles, like crazy aggressive landing profiles, knowing that they were expending the booster anyway. I think this one's just classic, like old school rocket. Once it separates from the upper stage, it's just gonna fall, unfortunately. So, so I don't think there's any high-speed water landing tests at all. So, yeah. Those crickets are just crazy.
Falcon 9's in startup.
Alright, so T-minus 1 minute, everybody. I'm so excited. I'll turn down the
LD go for launch.
just a little bit. Fellow teacher here built a Lego Falcon Heavy to motivate the next generation for STEM. YouTube Cloud Liquor Lego Falcon Heavy Block 5. I think Cloud Liquor, I've seen your I just recently saw a really good updated Block 5 Falcon Heavy Lego model that was fantastic. I need to check it out more and tweet it out and stuff. I will try to remember to do that. Thank you for what you do, and thank you for being a teacher. That's amazing. So great work. Keep it up. Be sure and maybe send me a tweet or something, and I'll see it hopefully too. And I'll be sure to retweet that. So thank you.
10,
Go.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition. Liftoff.
Vehicles reaching downrange. Stage 1 propulsion's nominal.
Awesome shot. little bit of fire at the base of the octaweb, totally normal. Don't scream. That might actually be the turbo pump exhaust. I've always wondered actually what exactly that is, but it's
Vehicle is supersonic.
very normal.
And we've had successful liftoff of Falcon 9 as it carries SES-12 to geostationary transfer orbit.
Vehicle
We're coming up on
through
max
maximum
Q here in a
aerodynamic
few
pressure.
seconds.
Chris Harris, sorry, I don't exactly know how
Max
to
Q,
answer.
remember, as we increase our velocity, pressure increases, but then we're going through less dense atmosphere, so pressure decreases. Everything after max Q means the scarce density is decreasing the pressure on the vehicle. So we're going to come up on a few events here in short succession. It's MECO, stage SEP, and then SES-1. MECO is main engine cutoff. That's when all 9 engines on first stage stop firing. There follows stage separation when the 2 stages gently separate from each other. And then the third event in that succession is SES-1, which is second engine start number 1. We'll see those here in a few seconds.
Yeah, this camera angle is always super weird. So we're coming up here on stage separation. So they're going to cut off the main engines, the 9 Merlin engines on the first stage, and then separate and light basically a brand new baby rocket that was riding on top, the second stage.
MECO. Stage separation confirmed.
Second stage. Now this is a Block 5 second stage. So this is important that this still performs nominally because they have made, I think, some significant tweaks.
Good first stage performance.
That's good. Good first stage performance is very good.
And we're coming up on the next major event, which is the deployment of the fairings, those aerodynamic shields surrounding SES-12.
FTS is safe.
The flight termination system is safed. There we go. Fairings deployed.
And the fairings have deployed. So to recap all that quickly, we had max Q, max pressure, and then the main engines cut off,
Second
and then the
stage
stages
trajectory
separated,
nominal.
and then we had second engine start.
Separation
Now this is the first of 2 planned burns that the second stage will conduct. Then the fairings deployed thereafter, exposing SES-12 to space. We don't need that extra mass once we're outside of the atmosphere. We no longer need our aerodynamic shield. Now, a quick note on the fairings. While we aren't attempting recovery of the fairings today, we have been attempting to recover fairings during our West Coast launches. Now, last launch we got pretty close with the fairing landing about 50 meters from Mr. Steven, which is our catch boat, and we will continue those recovery attempts until we're successful, but not on today's SES-12 mission. So we're going for a few minutes here. This burn is again 6 minutes long. We've gone through about 2 minutes of it. So this will continue for another about 4 minutes, and then we'll reach SECO 1, which is second engine
Some
cutoff
foil looks
number
like it came
1.
loose. You guys see that? I hope that's okay. I've never really noticed anything like that before. Interesting. That looks like thermal protection blanket. That's kind of all around the lower portion of the upper stage. That's there to protect the.
And if you're just joining us, we
the
again had a
tanks
successful
from the heat of the
liftoff
engine,
of
so I
the Falcon
hope
9.
that's
It's
not
carrying the SES-12 payload to geostationary transfer
anything
orbits.
bad.
Second stage has separated and is about halfway through its first of 2 planned burns.
Also, Chris Harris, I don't actually understand your questions. All the smoke from the rocket is from the exhaust. And yeah, there's 9 plumes of fire. They need all 9. Those are 9 engines. Noah, you're welcome. Thank you. I try my hardest, so thank you for appreciating it. Thank you. I really enjoy what I do. And Jim Miller, does the second stage Block 5 success help with NASA certification? I'm not sure. I don't think anything is going to work with that NASA certification until they're flying that new updated COPV, that composite overwrap pressure vessel, the 2.0 version. So, fingers crossed. Guys, I've never really been nervous about an upper stage
Currently T
before.
plus 6 minutes. We have about 2.5 minutes left in this first of 2 burns for the second stage until we enter about a 17-minute coast period. So again, the second stage is carrying SES-12 to its geostationary transfer orbit. 2 minutes remain in this burn.
Why do the launch sites have different angles for the strongbacks when they are lower than pre-launch? Yes, Vandenberg lowers more. So Vandenberg still has the old strongback. So it only goes out, I believe it's like 15 degrees, and it doesn't swing back. It doesn't throw back at all. The new ones on the East Coast, because both launch pads are fairly new.
Trajectory continues to be nominal.
Don't forget, Slick 40 was just recently renovated, and it actually does swing back as well as 39A, which is basically brand new, and they'll swing back out of the way. But the strong back out at Vandenberg is still the old one, and it requires a lot more refurbishment because the plume here, terp to derp.
Checking in again, we're at T plus 7 minutes. Second stage is still burning. This burn is again 6 minutes in full duration. There is about 80 seconds or so remaining in this burn as it glows ember red there. After this burn concludes, this will be SECO-1, second engine cutoff number 1, and then second stage will coast with SES-12 for about 17 minutes before it lights again.
So, so the strong back at Vandenberg only goes back a little bit, and then all the flames from the rocket hit the strong back. On the East Coast, it swings back 45 degrees, so the rocket only hits kind of this section. So the upper part where the plumbing and all the piping gets pretty far away and therefore has a lot less refurbishment.
Stage 2 terminal guidance.
Yeah, there we go. So Stan, why are they not landing the first stage? There's 2 reasons. Number 1, this is a Block 4, so it's an old reflown booster. They are not intended to fly and fly and fly again. They got their 1 reuse out of it, and they're happy to do so.
Now we've reached T plus 8 minutes. 20 seconds from now, this burn should conclude, marking SECO-1, second engine cutoff number 1.
Stage 2 STS has safed.
The reason they are not landing it, the primary reason, is this is too heavy of a payload going too far away. So up to geostationary transfer orbit, there isn't enough margin to land it even if they wanted to. So it's a perfect good one to use up an old Block 4 booster. You know, they might as well use up. There we go. That cutoff, that's good.
And then you heard the call out for successful cutoff of the MVAC engine. Now the 9 Merlin 1D or Merlin 1 engines on the first stage are different than the single engine on that second stage. That second stage engine that just cut off is called MVAC-D because it's designed to function optimally in the vacuum of space. It's housed inside the rocket's inner stage when the 2 stages are still attached, and it's designed to burn for about 6 minutes and can be shut down and restarted multiple times to deliver payloads to different orbits as they're needed. Nearly identical to the first stage Merlin engines in shape, MVAC-D is modified with a slightly larger nozzle to maximize efficiency in low-pressure exhaust conditions like space. So with that shutdown of the first of 2 burns, we're now going to break for about a 17-minute coast, and then we're going to come back for coverage of the relight of that MVAC engine and then the deployment of SES-12.
Okay, so we have a few things to talk about. I'm going to turn their feed down here, which I'll, of course, as always, basically forget to bring it back up. So number 1, to finish the why are they landing? So yeah, these are perfect missions for them to not to use fully expended because it's already been reused or flown once and they're just reusing it now, so that's fantastic. But the they aren't reflying Block 4s. So if you have questions about what Block 4 is, what Block 3 is, what Block 5 is, why they're throwing them away, I have a video titled kind of what's the deal with the block changes and Block 5. It's probably about 6 or 7 uploads back. Go ahead and find that. That will answer all your questions, hopefully, about the block changes and the name changes and all that stuff and why they're throwing away Block 4s as well. Another thing I wanted to notice, the color white balance on the upper stage seems different. I know Block 5 stuff has new cameras, so maybe they just aren't quite happy with the new camera. I was surprised at the white balance of that. It looked different, not necessarily better or worse, but I would be surprised if I don't know, maybe that's just what they're going for now. Yeah, so that's interesting. And then yeah, I'm assuming all of us kind of saw that thing flapping around there on the upper stage. That seems to have been a little bit of foil, the thermal protection foil. Looked like it kind of got loose, which hopefully that's fine. We'll see. Yeah, there we go. So, all right. So what other questions do we guys have? Technically radiation. Let's see. The purple color of the hot belt is very cool. I did think it was funny at the very end there. He said the MD vacuum engine has a slightly larger nozzle vacuum bell. It is not, I wouldn't call it slightly. It is insanely bigger. Like it's, why don't I just do this? 1 second. You guys are gonna see me. Just give me a minute. This will be a good explanation. I'm making a whole mess of everything. All right. So we are going to show you the scale, real differences. By the way, I have the link to the description for these models. They're made by Ollie Braun of BuzzSpaceModels.com, and they're amazing. They're so high detailed. Also I am always nervous to carry and to even handle these because they're so like intricate, 3D printed. Whew, they're amazing. Okay, so here's the 9 Merlin sea level engines. They're basically the engine that the 9 of these is basically the same engine that's up in here for the upper stage. But the difference is there's 9 because they're little sea level engines. They have smaller bells. But then in order to get the most out of the engine, look at how big the vacuum nozzle is. So again, basically same engine, different nozzles. So this is optimized for space. What happens, I'll probably do a video all about this, and maybe I'll lump it in with aerospikes. A lot of people have been asking about aerospikes lately. But the way that works is at sea level, air is pushing in on the exhaust. So obviously the exhaust of a rocket engine is extremely hot, but there's actually a lot of pressure down here at sea level, 14.7 psi or 1 bar. And as it pushes it in really hard, and as the air gets thinner and thinner and thinner, the exhaust starts to spread out more and more and more. And the further it spreads out, that means the less it's actually pointing anti the direction it's going. So if in a perfect world, all of your exhaust gas, all of your the thrust would be going perfectly straight out the back. But unfortunately, it starts to spread out, and that's why by the time that second or the first stage cuts off, you see those 9 engines, you see their exhaust going crazy wide. So then when they go into stage separation, they do this, and voila, they have a much larger, ideally in a perfect scenario, this would be infinitely long. It'd be forever long. Obviously that would have massive payload mass penalties. So they find a compromise in what fits inside the diameter of the inner stage, but also as to like weight versus, make sure it's worth it basically. Yeah, I thought that was hilarious that he said slightly bigger, when in my opinion, it's like 9 times bigger. It's crazy, crazy, crazy big. I'm always so nervous to make these things stand up. But yeah, again, link to the description in those. If you like those models, they are amazing. How is heat transferred from the sun to the earth? Oh, you guys are getting all pedantic over there in Discord about radiation versus convection and all that stuff. I had to learn quite a bit about that for the video that's coming out tomorrow. Josh Roberts, is humid as heck in Florida the reason of the camera? This is true, Josh, and hi, thank you. But I was mostly referring to the second stage camera, how it looks very different than it normally would, and I don't think there's no humidity in space, so I don't know. History Soup, if BFR works, will they retire Falcon 9? Yes. They are, at this point, planning to only do about 300 more Falcon 9 launches. Don't get too sad, that's still 5 times more than they've ever launched. So it's not like we're going to have a shortage of Falcon 9 launches, but that is the plan, because the BFR has a much higher payload capability, much lower cost. It's even cheaper. Say they were to just launch something that the Falcon 9 can launch and you only launch one of them, it'd still be cheaper to launch it on a BFR since it's entirely reusable versus launching it on a Falcon 9. Hopefully, in theory. Helmet something fell off just after liftoff. Did you see it? It looked like a piece of fuel hose or something. It looked like a lens flare. I think that's all it was a lens flare. So, yeah. Yeah, so hopefully that explains that stuff. Am I planning to stream the Soyuz launch coming up this week? Maybe 42. Good question. I'm going to be down in Houston, I think, this week, midweek, for a little, real quick little video I'm working on. It's going to be amazing. Hopefully, I'll find out tomorrow for sure. John Rumpf, man, thank you. Thank you so much. John's a Patreon supporter, and he's the best. Thank you so much. That means so much. John, I owe you a beer next time I'm down there. Thank you so much. I hope you've had a chance to check out the video that's coming out tomorrow. I'll be posting, actually, right now I'm going to do this. If you guys were in Patreon, get in there. I got to find, actually, I'm going to do this. So you guys can't even see it yet. I'm going to post and give you guys that link to my newest video. Boom. If you guys in Discord are extra bored, check out this video. But yeah, thank you, John. So, all right, where were we? Stuff and things. When will I wear my lightweight suit? That's a great question. I'm getting my entire suit probably redesigned at some point. I'll probably use that as the fabric since it's a lot lighter, but I want it and need it to look almost exactly like mine. So all the details. So I'm working on things. I actually have some secrets. I like to kind of keep you guys on your toes. I've got a few things that I'm working on already. So you'll see. You will see. James Lillinquest. I do Patreon meetups when I meet up with people, and John's been a long time supporter, and I hang out with him when I go down to Florida. It's the least I can do because he is a very, very active member of our Discord channel. He helps a lot with scripting and researching, so for him, yes, I absolutely do give out beers. And thanks, James. Am I going to wear a SpaceX suit? I would love to someday. We will see, though. What's a go, no-go poll? If you've ever seen Apollo 13 or a lot of those other movies where they go, guidance, go. Flight termination, go. Range, go. Health and safety, go. All these different call-outs. Prop, go. It's the council, the flight director, calling into every different council and everyone making sure that all their systems are go for launch. That's the go, no-go poll. I love saying that. Go, no-go poll. Am I coming to Australia anytime soon? Asks Mackenzie in Discord. Potentially New Zealand, maybe? I don't know. Make it happen, Rocket Lab. Yeah, we'll see. Actually, I want to really bad. Zach, why was the thermal foil flapping around in space? That's a great question. It seems to me it's not a good thing. So the reason, if you're asking why was it like flapping, remember, just because there's no air doesn't mean there's not momentum. So there's still about the upper stage was accelerating about 2, maybe 3 Gs during its acceleration phase. So if something were to break off from the upper stage, it does actually go back. It's going to fall back because it's no longer being exerted with 2 to 3 Gs of acceleration. So it's going to, just like this, if you drop something. I don't have anything that I want to drop right here. But, here's 1 G of acceleration. Ooh, we all know what that looks like. 2 Gs of acceleration, 3 Gs of acceleration is about what that upper stage is doing. And but it's still attached. It looked like top half of it may have broken off or got loose. So it swung back, and then it's just going to kind of continue to swing. There's still going to be momentum in there. There's no air to slow it down from flapping. And I don't know if it continued to break off then or what. I'm not entirely sure what that was. Yeah, I don't know. I'm curious if we'll hear anything more about it. So, Francis, you work at SpaceX. Loved when you came through and spoke at Hawthorne. Well, thank you, Francis. Thanks for saying hi. Thank you for your hard work. Man, that was awesome. I really, really, really enjoyed. I spoke at SpaceX 16 months ago. It was February 2017. Yeah, and I was just there. I was actually secretly there filming just outside for about 2 hours, about 2 weeks ago or so. Yeah. David Parker, your buddy works for SpaceX and he is working on the BFR. He showed me a picture of him standing next to a section of it and it blew my mind. Tell your friend to be careful showing any pictures, but that is amazing. The BFR is going to be just insane. Absolutely mind-bogglingly huge. I can't wait. I think it's a lot further along than a lot of us realize. I think they are being pretty coy, and not that coy, because think about it, they've actually been talking about a lot of this stuff for years and years and years. Yeah, so, well, I can't wait to see it. So, but yes, to keep up your good work to David's buddy, but also Francis, thank you. Yes, the EDA Roadshow is coming to a state/country near you. Maybe there's a chance actually. Do I have any people here from France? Are you from France, specifically Paris? I might be getting some artwork put up in a gallery in Paris at the end of June, and I might go to the opening of the gallery. It's going to be none of those pictures. It's a couple of the older Everyday Astronaut pictures. They're going to be up in a gallery only like 4 blocks away from the Louvre, which I'm really excited about. So if you happen to live in Paris, come say hi to me. I will be there, hopefully, maybe. Not anything official, but I'll let you know. Stay tuned on Twitter and all that. But I might be there. You could come to the opening, come say hi. That'd be fantastic. So, yeah. And I'll also maybe be in Germany in September, October, whenever. I think it's end of September. I might be going to IAC this year again. Thank you, Leaf. The Revenite? Thank you very much. All these super chats needs more color. Thank you very much. I had no plans for Boston yet, but maybe someday. Yeah, we'll see. But thank you. And let's see. Darren, thank you so much for your tip. That's awesome. Thank you. So yeah, so hopefully, if you guys are, I didn't really catch anyone if they're in Paris. But if you are, stay tuned. And by the way, guys, be sure and follow me on Twitter. It's Erday Astronaut, ERDAY Astronaut, because Everyday doesn't fit. Everyday Astronaut doesn't fit. Ugh, still hate that. Or search Everyday Astronaut. I actually am more active on Twitter than I am like on Instagram these days by a lot. And Instagram used to be my thing. I don't know those of you that don't know my past. Everyday Astronaut used to be an art project, and then it turned into, I really fell in love with the education, with the spaceflight history, and so I decided to basically just push it into, I decided to try making a YouTube video, and that did okay-ish enough for me to keep wanting to try to do a few more. So again, find me on any social media, and be prepared for some antics. Timothy, if SpaceX's Falcon 9 is so much cheaper, why does anyone fly their satellites on other rockets? Well, at this point, there's other considerations. Say you have a satellite that might make you $100 million in revenue the minutes in the air. If SpaceX has I don't know, I'm making stuff up right now. I'm making up numbers, but I'm just giving examples. Say SpaceX has a 2-year waiting list to be able to fly with them. That's a huge consideration. So say you could maybe find a launch provider that could get that same satellite up in 1 year. You know, you could probably easily offset the cost of going with another ride sooner. That's one option. There's also things like ride sharing. For instance, the Ariane 5 and upcoming Ariane 6 rocket has such a big giant payload fairing and a pretty good capability that it can normally launch 2 customers' payloads. And so when you do ride sharing like that, I think the Ariane 6 will actually be pretty darn competitive when ride sharing. I know that's not always ideal, but yeah, there's other considerations. And also payload fairing size too. SpaceX's payload fairing isn't huge. There are other bigger payload fairings, and SpaceX only makes one. So there's a few payloads out there that just simply literally can't fit inside the Falcon 9 Falcon Heavy payload. But it's changing though. Clearly SpaceX is securing a lot of contracts. So
Welcome
Oh.
back, Everybody, we're at T plus 25 minutes just beyond, and we're back live. The ground track, we're passing just over Africa. We're about to relight that engine, and that's going to start SES-2, or second engine start number 2. That will happen in about 30 seconds. I remember it's important to distinguish that SES in Falcon terms stands for second engine start, which is to be distinguished from the name of the company that is operating today's satellite, which is SES as well. So we'll relight for second engine start number 2 here in about 10 seconds, and that burn will not be 6 minutes, but will be 1 minute instead.
Engine pre-cooled, pressurizing the turbo pumps and all that stuff, and there it goes, ignition. They still have their music issue.
And you've heard good power and good motion. So that signifies a good SES-2, a good second engine startup. Again, this lasts for about a minute, and this burn will bring the velocity of second stage and the SES-12 from low Earth orbit at around 7.4 kilometers per second to over 9.5 kilometers per second. That is extremely fast. And that is brought to you by 210,000 pounds of thrust that this MVAC-D engine puts out. It also adds a lot of impulse in a very short amount of time. Impulse is the measure of efficiency. It's kind of like the gas mileage for rocket engines. So we're now going to conclude this burn in about 30 seconds or so, and that will be SECO-2, second engine cutoff number 2, and then we'll break for a few minutes before we attempt to deploy SES-12.
Engine music now.
And that clapping that you can hear in the background signifies that we did have successful SECO-2, second engine cutoff. So with that large delta V from that second and final burn, we now wait for a few minutes before we actually attempt to deploy SES-12 into its geostationary transfer orbit. So we'll return to that in about 2 minutes.
All right, we're gonna have a little break here. I'm just gonna turn that down a little bit. So first off, thank you, Met Productions. That means a lot. He says, love your video and streams. Thanks for doing what you do and being so good at it. Thank you. You're inspiring people to get interested in space travel. You know, for me, I'm just excited. I caught the bug about 4 or 5 years ago. Re-caught the bug because, of course, I think every kid loves space. I was no exception for that. And, man, I caught the bug hard about 5 years ago. I bought the spacesuit 5 years ago, so I think I caught the bug about 6 or 7 years ago, and it's just been an uphill obsession for me. So I really appreciate that, and I hope we can just really make an impact and teach people about why this is exciting and why it's worth our investment as a species, really. And Shadow Airplane, what are my thoughts on the idea of an M drive, the impossible drive?
SES-12, which is about to deploy, was manufactured by Airbus. You may know them from their commercial airplanes, but they are also a leading manufacturer of telecommunications satellites. Let's take a behind-the-scenes look at the development of the SES-12 satellite, which is set to deploy just a few minutes from now, courtesy of the team over at Airbus.
Didn't we see this already? Well, we'll just let this play in the background. Kind of cool. But the EM drive, I definitely see it as impossible. It violates the laws of physics, and there was a pretty, I don't swear in case there's children around, but this is the correct use of the word. There's pretty damning evidence that it's not going to work out. And yeah, I've kind of thought that all along. I've been skeptical and a little nervous, kind of holding my breath, but I would be really excited if we found something that exploits something that we don't understand, like dark energy or something like that. But unfortunately, right now, my thoughts are no. I don't think but we'll see. I mean, I could be wrong, of course I could be wrong, but we have to continue testing. That's what the beauty of hypotheses and testing and retesting and retesting and retesting until you are until you know you're not wrong, basically. You try to prove it wrong until you can't prove it wrong, at which point then you simply say, no, this is fact. So yeah. Sorry, guys. I had that all the way up still. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot that I still had that up, but I had the thing small. So, do you want me to make it louder? Is that what you guys want? Do you need me to retell that whole story? Basically, I don't think the EM drive will work, but I did it with the most epic background music in the world. None of the past 2 minutes. EM drive, it violates the laws of physics. I don't see it happening. I wish, and I'm sorry, guys, for me being an absolute jabroni there.
SES-12 is going to ultimately end up in geostationary orbit, but to get it there, second stage is going to put it in what we call geostationary transfer orbit, or GTO. And that's exactly what it sounds like. It's the orbit which transfers the payload to geostationary orbit, or GEO. Now, second stage will deploy SES-12 in an elliptical GTO orbit, and then SES-12 will coast on until it intersects GEO, and then at that point it will use its own onboard thrusters to circularize into its final geostationary orbit. So coming up next, we have these payload adapters which support SES-12, and then springs that are mounted to them, which will enable a gentle push-off for the deployment of SES-12 coming up in about a minute.
SpaceX.
And as you hear the callouts on the net and the clapping behind me and the video footage of SES gracefully floating away, that will bring our webcast to a close. To recap, we had a successful liftoff, a successful stage separation, and continuation of SES-12 into GTO. Now that brings, again, our webcast to a close, and this is also a nice day because it marks the 8th anniversary to the day of the first successful Falcon 9 flight from this same launch pad on June 4th in 2010, so an important legacy day for us. We'd like to thank our customer, SES, for their legacy with our launch platform. We would like to thank the United States Air Force as well as the Range for their continued support. And we would like to thank the FAA for their readiness to license us, as always. Thanks to the viewer for tuning in again, and if you'd like to visit opportunities we have here, please visit spacex.com/careers. You can check for updates on the next mission, as well as other updates from us on our social platforms and our website. Thank you again for joining us this night. We'll see you next time.
Bye. Okay, so I'll stick around, obviously. All right, so we have a few questions to answer before I go to bed. It is late for me, guys. All right, so I'm going to real quick reiterate a little bit about the EM drive. The EM drive, I want it to work. It violates the laws of physics. I would love nothing more than if we figured out... I'll turn this down just in case. So we don't repeat that whole thing. And of course... that is the beautiful thing about science, is that you take something and it might be a hypothesis and you just try and test over and over and over again, trying to prove it wrong. And either you're going to prove it wrong or you basically keep trying until to see what happens. And maybe then it works and then it will become a theory and or it's a fact, and that's exactly where the EM drive is. It's going through the classic perfect example of the scientific method. You have this idea, let's test it, see if it works. And at this point, we're kind of getting mixed results. There's starting to be a few things that are the nail in the coffin, considering like magnetic interference and things like that. I've never been that thinking that it's going to work because it violates the laws of physics, but I always had hope that maybe there's some weird thing that we don't understand yet that it was interacting with. And I am nervous that it's probably not the case. All right, so that's my thoughts on the EM drive. Maker stories. Hey, you found my channel a couple weeks ago. You appreciate the content. I'm glad to see I'm covering the stream. Thank you. You're welcome, Maker Stories, and thank you so much for your tip and for the support. That really means a lot. The only reason I've continued to ever make videos was because you guys gave me positive feedback, and I listened to all the feedback, positive and negative. The negative stuff can sting quite a bit. But you learn to even take that negative feedback and channel it and actually find out the nugget of truth in there. Someone's being insulting and someone's being negative. there's probably something that I could still fix. So I take it all into consideration, and I really appreciate your support. So thank you. Rodney, what was the flaming thing that fell off a few seconds after launch? You were so nervous. It looked like a lens flare. Just the light moving up. Those cameras were probably pretty high condensation, pretty humid right now in Florida, and it's nighttime, so there's going to be water vapor on the lens. There's a good chance it was literally just a lens flare going up and down. I'll rewatch it and see later, and we'll have to hear if anything else came out. Annoying Moose 234. What's my favorite planet and why? And how often do I check Elon Musk's Twitter? My favorite planet's Earth because it has everything I love on it ever, literally, and it's really comfortable. We have like good pools and water and air to breathe and like airplanes and stuff. I like Earth a lot. I'd say after that, it's not a planet, but it's a planetary body. Titan's my new favorite. I did a video about it and I learned how incredibly awesome Titan is. And then closely followed by that, I think Mars. Mars looks awful, but still really cool to explore. Yeah, that's my yeah. So Newman in our Discord says that they rewatched it. It looks like gravity had an effect on it. I wonder if we can actually replay it. Yeah, let's just replay it here, guys. Duh, I forget there's a DVR function. Let's find out if something fell off the rocket. And then I'll continue answering guys' questions.
Four, three, two, one, zero, ignition. Liftoff.
Vehicles reaching downrange.
Stage 1 propulsion's down.
That looked pretty lens flare. Well, don't forget, rocket's accelerated.
Vehicles reaching downrange.
Probably pretty close to 2G, so but
Stage 1 propulsion's
yeah,
down.
that's definitely a lens flare. Look at that, it's surrounded by
Vehicles reaching downrange.
yeah, that's lens flare. Nothing scary. Something that big, that's the size of the lightning towers. If something that big fell, we would obviously know about it. Yeah. There we go. Let's see here. Boop, back to this. So yeah, and how often do I check Elon Musk's Twitter? I just get notifications on Elon, so whenever I see him tweet, I tweet back. Thanks for the shout out earlier. You nailed that prime time T-minus 30-second window. Keep with the excellent. A collab may be in order when the Lego Falcon Heavy reaches 10,000. Awesome. Good night from Ohio. Well, I'm from the state that everyone confuses with Ohio, Iowa. I'm sure you get, oh, you're from Iowa or Idaho all the time. At least I do. I get, oh, you're from Ohio? No, I'm from Iowa. So howdy neighbor-ish. Thank you so much again. And yeah, I'll be sure and check that out. Like I said, I've definitely seen it. And Simon, why is SpaceX only launching 18 times in 2019? Is that a concern? Not really. The customers book flights about 2 years in advance. There's a few things happening. One, a lot of customers are kind of reevaluating right now as launch prices get cheaper. They can make smaller satellites that have shorter lifespans, and it can still be profitable. So I think a lot of people are actually reevaluating. We also had, SES and Iridium are going to have their new big giant networks up, and it's just kind of a shift. It's a shift. It's not that scary. SpaceX is literally opening up new markets. So it'll take a while for the market to react to that, though, too. So again, a 2-year delay. If that price drops for SpaceX and encourages new, smaller, different missions, that'll be really cool. So yeah. Let's see. Blair Matson, not time to go to bed. Time to take the telescope out. That's awesome. I wish I had your energy. I'm just exhausted, but that's awesome. Please enjoy it. And Tom, thank you for your tip. Thank you very much. I'm in Northeast Iowa. That's awesome. Yeah, I will tell you more about when I come to France. Again, just pay attention to Twitter. I'll probably announce that gallery opening. And maybe if I have time beforehand, if there's any Patreon supporters that are in France, I'll let them know too that I'll be doing a potential meetup beforehand as well. Yeah, the local time here, it is just after midnight. It is 12:25, sorry. Iowa smells like cereal. Cedar Rapids smells like cereal because there's a big old, whatever that oatmeal place is, giant plant downtown. So if you've been to Cedar Rapids, John, which you have, then yes, it is. It does smell. I have come to Thailand. Swati Kap, Kunchul Rai Kap. Yeah, I love Thailand. I also know Roi Ma. So hopefully, if I come to Thailand, I will have some delicious food again. Yeah, I will come to Thailand again. Definitely not lens flare. If it wasn't a lens flare, you're going to see a big old kaboomy. No, we don't even need to pedal that. No. I'm just not even going to talk about it anymore because it's not worth. Look, frame by frame analysis of a 1080p image from a building that's 3 miles away, shaking a lot with humidity on it. Like, it doesn't matter. Yeah, and Brandon, if this was a Block 5 launch, would they have to carry more fuel to land again? Would it land at sea? And you love my videos. Thank you, Brandon. So there's no such thing as more fuel on a rocket. They fill them to capacity. If you need more fuel, you have to design a bigger rocket. It's not like they can be like, hey, Block 5 has more Delta V. It has a little bit more capability because it has more powerful engines and potentially lighter weight materials and some things like that. I don't know for sure. But you can't just really add more fuel and land. The tanks are full, period, for every launch. So the only thing that determines whether or not they can land a Block 5 booster or any of their rockets, or if they cannot land them, is when they have to get the payload to its destination. And you can kind of work backwards from there. Here's where it has to go. So in order to do that, here's how much the second stage can do, how much work the second stage can do. And then from that, so that means how much work does the first stage have to do? If the first stage has to get, if it's absolutely maxing out the rocket, the first stage is going to have to do every inch of work it can. And same with the second stage. And it's just barely going to eke that thing up to its destination. Now, if you have a lighter payload, the second stage will still do its full thing. There might be, 10%, 15% of fuel left over in that first stage, and that might be enough to be able to land it at sea where it's falling along its trajectory and it doesn't do a boost back burn. And then again, say it maybe is even lighter weight or not going as far away, not going to geostationary transfer orbit or something, then, there's always the chance that it would have 30% of fuel left over in the first stage and therefore has enough fuel to turn around and land back at land. That's just sort of how that works. Yeah. Do I think the BFR will be tested next year? I didn't think so until about 2 or 3 weeks ago. And I think there's a good chance we will see a pretty significant piece of hardware of BFR flying in some capacity. I don't know what it will be. I think we will see a Raptor engine performing some kind of hopping tests by the end of next year with some kind of BFR-ish vehicle. So, yeah. Can SpaceX use the methane Raptor engine in the Falcon 9? Not really. That would take a massive redesign. The rockets, and unfortunately, it would have to be they'd have to stretch the tanks more because methane is less dense. And the Falcon 9 is already about as tall and skinny as it can possibly be. It's already considered the finest rocket. That's the ratio of width or girth to length. And it can't really get any skinnier. And therefore, they can't really fit a Raptor. A Raptor engine upper stage probably just wouldn't be worth it. And the Air Force studied that with them, but I think it just ended up not being worth it. So, yeah. But, yeah, I think, will I cover Rocket Lab launches? No, I cover whatever I can at this point. The only thing I still don't do, and I probably will start doing, is things like Soyuz launches and vehicles that I'm just not super familiar with. And I just don't know enough about like crew rotations and stuff of Soyuz launches. I'm just not very good at that, so I don't feel comfortable just openly talking about that. But I will start doing those in the near future. I did start finally doing like Atlas launches and other vehicles that I'm familiar with. I will definitely be doing the Electron because I did a good in-depth video about the Electron. I feel very comfortable talking about the Electron. It's a really, really cool rocket, so I cannot wait. How much does the second stage weigh? I don't know. Quite a bit. Yeah. So I think that's gonna do it for me, guys. It's late here. Again, it's 12:30. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Discord and Patreon supporters, make sure and tune in. I will be posting that rough cut before I put that video out tomorrow. So double check my work, look at spelling, double check all that stuff for me. Make sure I didn't mess anything up. I really, really like the way it turned out. I hope you guys do too. For the rest of you guys, if you want to see that, you can tune in and join the Discord channel, patreon.com/everydayastronaut. You can get sneak peeks and be included in helping me make videos. Yeah, so again, patreon.com/everydayastronaut. That's been so encouraging, and that's the reason I'm able to continue doing what I'm doing. So thank you to all my Patreon supporters. You know who you are. Thank you guys so much. And yeah, it sounds like a lot of people were talking about like finals and stuff. For those of you, good luck. Yeah, and don't forget, guys, make sure and follow me on Twitter, Instagram. Just search Everyday Astronaut on whatever platform you use often. Find me, interact with me. I hang out quite a bit. So new video coming out tomorrow. There'll be, hopefully, there'll be new video coming out soon thereafter, and I will be very busy for you guys making some good content. So yeah. So thank you guys. I feel like there's going to be one more thing I needed to... Oh, make sure and check out my new Facebook Watch show. So Facebook Watch is original content on Facebook, kind of like, YouTube Red or Netflix. They actually bought an Everyday Astronaut show last November. So I have 5 episodes that are coming out. 3 of them are already out. 2 more are coming. Everyday Astronaut, there's a link in the description below. It's very all ages. Really, if you have kids, park them in front of it. It's really good for kids too. Just overall friendly, very entertaining, a lot more like interactive than what I do here in my house. So I had a lot of fun shooting that, a lot of fun making that with a big production company. It's a lot of fun. So check that out. Please check it out. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, facebook.com/spacingout everydayastronaut with space.com. Yeah. All right, that's going to do it for me, guys. Thank you guys so much. Stay tuned. A lot more content. Tell your friends if they have questions about SpaceX or blah, blah, blah. Tune them into my videos. Send them my way. It always means a lot. So thank you, guys. That's going to do it for me. I'm Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut, bringing space down to Earth for everyday people. Bye, everyone. Have a good one.